You're listening to the Platform Launchers podcast. I'm John Stongi, and it's great to have you with us again this week because we're going to be talking about building and growing and monetizing your online platform, taking your passion, turning it into a platform so you can earn a paycheck from it. Just a moment ago, you probably heard me mention this before if you're watching us on YouTube or if you listen to us via the podcast, that as I record this, I'm in a Zoom room here with our members club, and so we have people from various parts of the United States, all over the country, represented on the call. It's a lot of fun. We have a lot of good conversation, celebrate our wins, dig deep into each other's platforms, and do some Q&A. So you don't get to hear that part, but I just want to let you know they're here. And I was just joking with our group before I went live with the podcast here. I said, yesterday I went to an amusement park with my family. We love there's a park in the middle of Pennsylvania called Knoebels. And it's our absolute favorite. We love it. You've probably heard me mention it somewhere along the line. So we went there for the first time this season, and I did a lot of yelling at the park, and I thought probably not a good idea to do a lot of yelling on rides and things like that. A day before, you have to record a podcast and do all that. So my voice is a little raspy, but it's raspy for a good reason. It's just every time you hear rasp in my voice this week, understand that it is the fruit of having a lovely time at an amusement park with my family just 24 hours ago. It was wonderful. But this week, we have an interesting topic that I hope you'll find really helpful. We're talking about products. And those of us that work in the online space, there are various products that we've probably created. Maybe you have courses, maybe you offer coaching, maybe you have a membership, maybe you have something in the like a physical form of media or ebooks or audio recordings, whatever it may be. I think many of us have products, but I'm wondering what products are people practically begging you to create that as of yet you haven't made? Now, let me give you I have some stories for us this week as I illustrate this, and I have a few questions I want you to ask to help you figure out the answer to this in your own platform. But the stories I'm going to share are things that I think will probably help you get there. I like variety. That's not a surprise to anyone who knows me. People who know me know that I like variety. I like variety with the music that I listen to. I like variety with a variety of things, right? But if you've been listening to my podcast or reading my blog for any length of time, you've most likely picked up on the fact that there is some variety that exists in my daily life. So if you're listening online here, you recognize that I create content for my online platform. So I love doing that. But in addition to that, I also serve as the pastor of a local church. I've been in pastoral ministry full time for 26 years. And the church that I serve at present, I've had the blessing of being here for 16 years. We moved to serve here 16 years ago. It's gone by so quickly. But in addition to that, I also teach at a local university, Cairn University in Langhorne, Pennsylvania. And on top of that, I also lead a mission board that helps plant new churches throughout the United States or helps struggling churches. So, a lot of variety in the tasks that I'm doing, online things, day to day things, relational things, teaching things, all sorts of things. So, as you can imagine, these responsibilities keep me plenty busy. But again, the variety appeals to me. I like the variety. Now, regularly, in light of that, knowing, people know that I'm trying to do these multiple things all at the same time. Regularly, people ask me if I could actually just share a few pointers on how to be productive as an online content creator when you've got a lot on your plate for the day to day aspect of your life through your traditional job or ministries that you're volunteering with, or even juggling things with your family. And I suppose there are multiple things that I could share. But a major suggestion that I think would be helpful for most people is, and I say this a lot, but I encourage people to find ways to use what you create in more than one way. If you're a busy person, you've got that variety in your life and you sometimes feel a little fatigued even as you're trying to juggle all your day-to-day responsibilities. The thought of creating online content can seem a bit daunting. Well, I encourage people use what you've created in multiple ways, and sometimes that solves that. I actually think that's one of the biggest suggestions that I can offer. That's also the primary pattern that I'm following. Each week for platform launchers, I write a blog post and then I record myself teaching it live. That's what I'm doing right now. I release the audio of this teaching as a podcast. I release the video as a YouTube video. And then for our members, I create an exclusive long form version of our evening together that includes the members only Q&A and things like that. It's something that our membership community gets exclusively, but these are various forms of content that I'm creating from one written piece of content. I'm creating all these other things. I'm using things that I'm creating in more than one way. Again, it's a pattern that I would encourage you to replicate. If you feel like you have a calling to be a content creator, but you're also trying to hold down day-to-day responsibilities in other areas of your life at the same time. And following this pattern, it recently led me to discover a new product that I'm about to create. And this is where we get into our theme this week, this idea of what products are people practically begging you to create. Well, I've been following this pattern, and there's a new product I'm about to create. I'm about to tell you about it in just a moment here, but I'll tell you how I got there. So because I'm always trying to find ways to use the content I'm creating in more than one way, I started teaching a course at Cairn University recently, and then also began teaching that content at my church as well. In fact, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I teach a course on foundational theological concepts, and I teach that at the university. And then on Wednesday evening, I teach that same content at my church. In fact, our church asked me to do this when the group of people that meet midweek found out that this was a topic I was going to be teaching on at the university. Several asked if I would consider doing that for the church as well. And I thought, you know what, that's a great idea. And, but there was one problem with it. Not everybody that wanted to participate in it was available on Wednesday evenings when I was going to be teaching it live. And so that resulted in multiple people giving me questions like, will this content also be available online? And at first I thought, well, I wasn't really planning on making an online version of this. And then I thought, well, I guess I could possibly do that. And then some people were saying, well, maybe we just live stream it. But then if I did that, we couldn't hear the questions. And so finally I got to the spot where I realized, you know what, I should turn this into an online course that people could just access whenever they want. And I don't know why it didn't occur to me immediately, but it took enough people asking that question to finally be one of those things where I thought I should just turn this into an online course that I could give people access to. In fact, it's an online course I'm just going to give people access to for free. I'm not even going to charge for it. And it's something that I'm in the process now of recording. So I'm recording these lectures. I want to release them online. It's something that it's going to take me a decent amount of time because there's about 30 lectures that I'm about to record. So it's not going to be something I get to do overnight, but once it's ready, I'll make it available to my church family, and I'm going to be able to make it available on my faith-based website. That's BibleStudyHeadquarters.com. So check that out if you've never stopped there. But my purpose in telling this story is to highlight the fact that the idea to create this online course, it didn't actually originate with me. It came from people who were already interested in the content that I create. And I'm confident, based on the feedback that I've received so far, confident that when I finish recording this course, that it's actually going to be regularly utilized. I feel like there are people that are just waiting for me to make it available online. Again, why am I so confident that it's going to be regularly utilized? Well, I'm confident because people they continue to tell me that they want it. They keep saying, "Hey, is it available yet? Or are parts of it available yet?" I keep hearing that over and over and over again. So I'm very confident that when I actually make it available on my website, that it's something that's going to be utilized. I'm not begging them to want it. I'm not trying to force my ideas on somebody else. I'm not trying to create this product based on a hunch. What I'm actually doing is directly listening to the people that I'm trying to serve. They told me what they want. So now I'm dedicating time to meet that need. But again, I'm understand the process of doing this. I'm not begging them to want it. I'm listening to what they want and then honoring what they say would be helpful to them. And I suspect that if you're actively attempting to serve a group of people, they're in the process right now of giving you clues as to what you should create next and what you should consider creating next. They're literally telling you with their words and in other ways what they want. And sometimes I think we're the last ones to figure this out. And I don't know why this is so hard for us sometimes, but I think at times we tend to create things that we feel like creating. And sometimes we create based on a hunch. And sometimes we're not so happy with the fact that people aren't using what we created. But if we just listen to the audience that we're trying to serve, they can oftentimes help us figure out what we should create next. And I want to break this down into 4 questions that I think will make it easier for you to figure out what your audience is actually begging you to create or what they really desire for you to build or make available. They're telling you. It's just sometimes hard for us to hear it. So sometimes they'll just use their words and sometimes they'll just tell you directly. So I understand that. But there's 4 additional questions, 4 quick questions, in fact, that can help you figure out what product you should be making available next. Here's the first question. The first question is this: what pieces of your content are they presently downloading most? So as an online content creator, you're creating online content. You're making things available for people to access from your website or websites. And there are certain pieces of your content that are already performing better than other pieces of content. So quick question to just start this off is, what pieces of your content are your audience already downloading at a higher number than some of the other pieces? I think that sometimes this can be one of the most helpful ways to determine what we should create next or what we should create more of. I create various forms of content, but some of it gets utilized and downloaded much more than other forms of content. And the content that people are already downloading, that actually gives me very helpful ideas on what I should be creating more of, what I should keep creating. They're voting with their downloads. So what pieces of content are your audience already downloading? So that's one question. All right. Question 2 is this: what problems or needs do they regularly ask you questions about? Now, I bring this up regularly because I think it's extremely helpful. I brought that same premise up in other teachings and other contexts, but I bring it up again, this idea of asking the question, what problems or needs do they regularly ask you questions about? I bring that up because we don't always listen as closely as we should when people are bringing those things up. One of the biggest roadblocks, in fact, this might even be the biggest roadblock that many content creators experience when they're trying to develop their online platforms, is creating forms of content that don't really interest people other than themselves. They create content that they think other people might be interested in it because they're interested in it, and then they discover once they create it that nobody cares about it. And why does that surprise them? Why does nobody seem to care about it? Well, the truth is, a lot of times they were just creating that content because they felt like creating it. They weren't listening to the needs or the problems that other people were expecting to them. They weren't solving problems or answering actual questions that came from readers or watchers or listeners. They're just doing whatever they want, and then they feel like they're stuck. I don't want that to be you. I want you to be somebody who listens to the feedback that you're getting from other people. I think this is a mistake we need to quit making. It is much wiser to listen to the questions that others are asking you when you're trying to determine what to invest your time into creating. There are people that already read your content or watch your content or listen to your content. When they give you feedback, when you have conversations with them, when they talk to you about some of these things, listen to what they're saying. And then based on what they're saying, based on the problems that they're asking you to help them solve or the needs that they express that they're actually experiencing at present, that should give you clues as to what you should create next. All right, question number 3. And this is one that maybe you haven't thought of, so I hope to put this new on your radar if this hasn't come to your mind. But question number 3 to ask when you're trying to figure out what product you should be creating next is this: what other content is your audience consuming? What other content is your audience consuming? It wouldn't hurt to ask, especially if you're trying to gain a better understanding of what they'd like more of. Are there books that they already find particularly helpful? Are there podcasts that they find interesting? Are there YouTube channels that they're currently watching? Are there newsletters that they subscribe to or blogs that they frequently read? It would be worth your time to find out. And again, you could just do this conversationally, or you could even poll your audience. It would be worth your time to find out these details. What kind of content are they consuming in addition to your content? Because it could help you boil down what really interests the audience you're serving. And if you understand what really motivates them and what they find helpful, that can help you determine what you should be investing your time toward producing. It might also help you figure out where there's a void in the market, where other content creators that are in a similar lane that you're in, maybe nobody's hitting on something. And it can give you an idea of where there's a void in the market as well. But here's another one, and this is a biggie. This is a real big one. And sometimes I like to save the real big one for last. So this is the real big one. Question number 4. This is what you could ask. What have they personally thanked you for? What have they personally thanked you for? Now, again, this may not have been something you've considered in the past when you've been trying to discern which products to create next, but it is a helpful way to determine what you should be investing your time toward creating. Let me give you 2 recent examples of why I bring this up. And this was illustrated to me both times in very similar ways. Now, not long ago, in fact, this was really just a few days ago. This was less than a week ago. I was officiating a wedding, and a whole big story on how we almost ended up to that wedding late, but we ended up getting there on time. It was very interesting. I got there 3 minutes before the service began. People were already lined up, and I was the one officiating. Can you imagine? Anyway, whole long story. Maybe I'll tell you that some other day, or just message me if you want to know that story. But anyway, following the ceremony, the father of the bride came up to me, and he told me that he listens to one of my faith-based podcasts, a podcast called Dwell on These Things. He said, I listen to it every single Monday morning. In fact, he told me that both he and his new son-in-law, they do that together on Mondays. Or I guess they listen to it separately, but then they discuss it. That's what they do. They discuss the content later in the day. So they both listen in the morning separately and then discuss the content later in the day. And he thanked me for creating it each week. He said, that's part of my Monday morning routine. I listen every Monday morning when I'm driving to work. And so does my now son-in-law. And then we talk about it later in the day. And he thanked me for creating that content. So what does that tell me? It tells me that I need to have my ears open to creating that kind of content because people are directly thanking me for it and saying that they're finding it helpful. But here's another thing. This is actually something that I just received within the past 24 hours. I received an email from a woman who lives a few hours from us. She said that she lived in the Annapolis, Maryland area, and that's a few hours from us. And she said that she was curious if I was going to be speaking at my church on a particular day. And I said that I was. And she said that she and her husband would like to visit. And when I asked her how she became familiar with our church, she said, I've been listening to your podcasts for the past 4 years, and we wanted to meet you and thank you in person. They've been thankful for the shows. This is how they're expressing their thanks. And it reminds me, okay, this is something that people who listen to my content are thanking me for. And if they're going to thank me for it, that tells me, look, if people are appreciative of this, this might be something that I want to invest more time in creating that specific kind of content. I'll tell you what, the people I know who lead successful online platforms are faithful to create new content regularly, and they make a point to listen to what their ideal audience wants next. They do both. They're faithful to create new content regularly, typically at least one piece of content each week, sometimes a new piece of content each day, depending on the platform. But even while they're doing that, they constantly keep their ears open to what their ideal audience wants next. They are looking for ways to use their knowledge and their experience to help others. And I bring this up if you're somebody who is interested in developing an online platform, or if you're somebody who already has your platform developed, but you're trying to figure out where do I take this? What should I do? What should I begin offering? If you're trying to figure out which products you should be making available, I hope these suggestions will help out. And I'm phrasing them as questions that we can ask. Again, the questions are: question number 1, what pieces of your content are they downloading most? Question number 2, what problems or needs do they regularly ask you questions about? Question number 3, what other kinds of content are they consuming? And question number 4, what have they personally thanked you for? And sometimes question number 4 tends to be just one of the biggest clues that has helped me figure out where I should be investing my time and how best I can serve people. I certainly don't want to waste my time, and I'm certain you don't want to waste your time either. We're all busy people. We want to make sure that we're doing the best we can, serving the most people we can, glorifying God with the life that He's blessed us with. These are things that all matter to me, and I hope they matter to you as well. But these are my suggestions if you're trying to figure out what kind of products you should be creating and what you should be making next. There are products, there are services, there are different forms of content that your audience may, in fact, be begging you to create. And it'd be super wise to start listening to them because they're going to point things out to you that maybe you haven't noticed. Before we finish up this week, I just want to remind you, you could stop over at platformlaunchers.com. At platformlaunchers.com, you'll see a whole bunch of content we have. You'll see our weekly blog. You'll also see an opportunity to sign up for our weekly newsletter where we share helpful content. Typically, it comes out every Wednesday morning, and we're happy to send that to you. It's free. We also have a free trial of our members club. If you ever want to be part of the full conversation and part of our members only Q&A, you also get access to our back video library, and there's hundreds of hours of training content that'll legitimately teach you how to build, grow, and monetize your online platform. You go to our website, we have different courses available, one that'll just help you build the foundation of an online platform. We also have another course that'll show you how to monetize that platform ethically to a point of $250 a day or beyond. And that's something that many people have told me they find very, very helpful. But that's it for us this week. Again, stop by the website, platformlaunchers.com, to check that all out. We're so grateful to have you with us this week. As always, we look forward to catching up with you again right here next time. But in the meantime, have a wonderful week, and we look forward to talking to you soon. Take care.